What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. On today's video, we are going over Bitcoin and the overall crypto market, as we are seeing something that can be pretty bearish if it does play out. And so I want to make sure that you are aware of this, that you're prepared for it if this outcome does come around, and exactly how I'm going to be playing it in order to make the most gains that I possibly can, whether we see upside or downside growth. So with this being said, let's go ahead and let's get straight into the video. So in today's video, again, we're focusing on what is developing at this point on the Bitcoin charts. But I want you guys to understand something. There's a much bigger picture right now, okay? There are macro geopolitical events that are influencing markets. And so although looking at the technical analysis for confirmations, whether it be to the upside or whether it be to the downside, in order to gauge price targets is very important, the movements that these charts are making are based off of other things right now, okay? They are based off of these macro events. So while pairing your technical analysis with, some other things will be important, pairing it with your studying and your understanding of what's going on in the world is much more important in my opinion. Now, it's not me saying that Bitcoin can't go up right now due to the events. I mean, we saw last week when everything else was falling, Bitcoin decided it was going up because, allegedly there was a ton of Russians buying. But at the end of the day, you never really know how these events will affect the charts. So it is important to pair, again, your technical analysis with those events to have the best deep under the surface understanding that you possibly can. So looking at Bitcoin chart specifically today, what we can see is a formulation of this ascending triangle. Now, originally, what we had been focusing on what was considered a W bottom. But now that we have been rejected again off of this high and put in what is now a 1-2 triple top, we need to definitely be cautious and be aware that a break to the downside at any given point can happen now that we are putting in what can be considered this ascending triangle here. Generally considering, more often than not, we will see a downtrend, an ascending triangle be a continuation of a downtrend into the continuation to the bottom side. These are more than often not going to be continuation patterns from what I've seen in downtrends. But that does not mean that this thing has to break to the downside. It just means that more often than not, historically, it has. Not significantly more than not, but historically, okay? Now, looking at this, what that means for us is we need to start being prepared and starting to understand where our break up and break down targets are for this in order to be prepared either way. We can short it if it breaks to the downside, or we can long it if it breaks to the upside. I'm not really all too concerned with where this goes in the short term because I do believe in the long term, pretty much no matter what, we will see cryptos rise again. It just comes down to let's trade and start to really do swing trades in the short term until we do start to see some of those more macro bullish growths. So looking at this thing, what I'm going to go ahead and prepare for is that we need to start looking at the breakdown targets. Now, breakdown targets on these ascending triangles are pretty easy to find, okay? First and foremost, what you're going to do is you're going to start to set out where are your lows, 1, 2, and 3. Now that we know where our lows are, those are going to be the breakdown targets off of the loss of the key level of support, the red line. So if we are going to lose this level of support, there is a very strong chance that we resort back to the low in which put in the previous touch on that line, which at this point looks like $36,500 to $37,000. Now, to further confirm whether or not we think that this level is going to hold between 36.5 and 37K, what we can do is open up bookmap and go look at the liquidity to see if there is liquidity at that point. And what we can see is at this point, there are levels of liquidity, as you can see here, sitting there, not a significant amount, and that is something to consider, but we can see there was a pretty strong buyer sitting around 37,000 with about 66 Bitcoin sitting in the order book for this specific pair, and at 36.5K, we have about 30 Bitcoin. So I think we can expect that if we do see a fall at this point in the loss of the current strength of support that we have now, we could see a push towards that 37 to 36.5K, and that I think we could start to expect that some buyers would at least try to step in at some of these lower levels, as we can see here. Now, the next one that we're going to take a look at is going to be, well, what happens if we lose that level? Well, then of course it becomes very easy to gauge it. We just understand that it is very likely we will resort to the next low, which is sitting around $35,000 exactly on these two daily closes. So what we're going to go ahead and do, look at that for further confirmation on bookmap and say that at 35K, we have a substantial amount of liquidity, about 212 Bitcoin sitting in the order book. And I would be absolutely incredibly surprised if we just drop through this level without a massive fight. So personally speaking, if we do start to lose, say, this support level, I will be shorting Bitcoin more than likely down to support level number 2, but then I will be closing that position and going long at 35.k with the expectancy that we would see a bounce. That is how I'm playing this, right? And so that's why I don't really stress out whenever I start to think, okay, we might fall from here, because I have game plans no matter where this thing goes, and of course my goal is to bring them to you all. Now, in the event in which we start to roll, let's talk about the level that says, okay, maybe on that flip side, what if this support level holds, right? What if we get a third touch hold and we work our way back up here? How do we start to prepare for that move to the top side? Well, this one's actually very easy. From what I can tell, we have a very strong level of confluence sitting right around this $39,300 level. Let's go ahead and give it $39,350. Now, in my opinion, if we can start to get daily closes back above where we got rejections right here, as well as back here, and even right here, I think that could be a good sign that we are going to start to work our way back to the top side. And I personally would be able to say, okay, I think that that is a pretty good move to the upside here. So if you are looking for a long trade, I would say at least let it start to close back above 39.3 to 39.4k. But personally speaking, I'm not going to go super long on Bitcoin until we do break the trend line up here, sitting back around 45,000. Considering the fact that we now do have this massive level of rejection, there's no point in buying, in my opinion, while we are getting rejected off of it. I would like to see that the bulls are capable of breaking this trend line and holding it before I do start to consider buying, because at this point, the bulls are losing the battle for 45k and the bears are succeeding, as we are seeing rejections here. Now, although we are seeing the bears succeeding on the top side, the bulls are succeeding on the bottom side because we are putting in higher lows and they're stepping in earlier and earlier. I mean, even in the short term, again, we look back at bookmap. Look at how every single time we hit one of these key levels of liquidity, we come back down, the bulls step in, set their buy orders, we get the buy order hit, and then we bounce back to the upside. We hit this key level of, bear support or bear resistance, my apologies, and boom, the bulls start to step in, and next thing you know, we're pushing through them. So the bulls are back in action. The bulls are here. We just need them in the more macro sense to get back above 45.5k, as that is currently the biggest barrier to our growth, okay? Now, again, do understand there are macro events that will influence the move, whether it be to the upside or whether it be to the downside. But these breakout targets do remain the same almost no matter what, unless it's absolutely catastrophic, like a nuclear bomb gets dropped or something, okay? So with that being said, that is kind of my analysis today on this ascending triangle. That's the simples, that's the basics, that's just the fundamental understanding of where we can expect this thing to go and exactly how we can be playing this. If we do clear 45.5k, I will personally be setting a stop loss back below 42k, and I will be going long with the price target back up towards about $49,000 on the short term, or possibly even up to $54,000 on more of a midterm sense. But of course, we will go over that if we do get this break here after a successful support establishment on the bottom side of our ascending triangle. So with that being said, that is realistically going to be about it. You need to be aware of this and you need to be prepared for this. You should not ignore these structures. These structures have strong breakout targets and they almost always get hit, okay? So whenever we see them move, whether it be to the upside, whether it be to the downside, do pay attention to these levels, as I do guarantee you they will be important, okay? So with that being said, do understand, guys, at the end of the day, I am no expert. I'm just a normal guy who has put in the time and the effort to learn these charts. So you should not be making financial decisions based off of these videos, but I do believe that I provide a pretty decent educated opinion whenever it comes to more of an unbiased perspective. And so I hope you guys do appreciate that, of course. Now, whenever I do my long-term accumulation and, if we do get a breakout, say to the upside here, you guys know I always do let y'all know I buy it on I Trust Capital. Again, they are a partner of the channel and I just personally don't like losing 40% or up to 40% of every gain I make. I would say that, over the years we've made a pretty substantial amount of gains, and the thought of paying 40% of that to taxes, I just don't like it if I don't have to, of course, legally. And so if what I've been doing is I've been doing my long-term accumulations over on I Trust Capital. It's actually really easy. It's free. It's not something that you need to, do a whole lot of, go through a whole long process for. All you're going to do is you're going to click the open account button through the link in the description, fill out this very easy information. Once you enter your email and press create account, they will send you an email, verify your email. And once you verify it, you will be able to see all the options in which they offer, and maybe something works out for you. If it doesn't, it's no problem. But if it does, I definitely think that you should at least give it a try, because in the future, as Bitcoin does hit 100, 200K one day, this is very likely going to save people hundreds, if not, or tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I do think it's worth the try. Okay. So with that said, that is going to be about it for today's video. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace.